Hi guys, Rocky here. I'm going to show you some different movements today that you can use to free up your neck if it's feeling a little tight, and also kind of more broadly to expand your sense of freedom. So where we practice looking, how we practice exploring our environment, can over time start to contribute to some limiting patterns in the way that we feel relative to our environment. I know I've been spending a lot of time indoors and sort of looking at one thing or looking in a certain way at what's in front of me. And as a result, I can start to feel a little stuck, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. So this is a sort of holistic approach to not just liberating stuck patterns in your body, but also in your mind and kind of in your way of relating to the space that's around you. Okay, so we're gonna play with some rotations, and we'll orient those rotations from different starting points, sometimes from our eyes, from our capacity to see, and at other times from different body regions. Okay, so we'll begin in a seated position. You can just sit on a chair. You can also sit on the floor if you're on the floor or want to be on the floor. In any event, make sure that your pelvis is neutral on the chair or on the floor so that your weight is being distributed evenly through your sitting bones, and then lift straight up through your spine. Okay. So just take a little assessment, see how it feels to turn your head to one side or the other. Now, typically when we turn our head from one side to the other, if we're not stretching, we're doing that because we want to see what's on one side of us or the other. So the way in which we learn a lot of these movement skills is first oriented by our desire to look. Starting from the center position, I want you to look first just with your eyes to the right, as if you're trying to scope out what's over on the right of you without turning your head. How far can you look to the right? Then let your head follow that movement and turn to see what's all the way behind you. Now this turn comes just from my neck. My left shoulder sort of resists back, so I'm not borrowing any movement from my thorax, shoulders, or trunk. Then I'm going to bring my head forward, let my eyes sort of follow, and gaze forward. Okay, let's try that again. Look to the right, turn to the right. Perhaps you can spot the wall a little further behind you this time. And then come back one more time. Eyes, head, and then unwind to center. Pause for a moment. You're likely to feel some different sensations on either side. And then to the left, turn your eyes, and then your head, your chin, look, and unwind. Turn, look, and unwind. One more time, look to the left, turn your head, turn your chin, gaze towards the wall behind you as far as you can, and then unwind and come back to center. Okay. Now we're going to practice sort of scanning the horizon line, and we're going to do that not by moving our eyes. In fact, I want you to keep your eyes, your skull, your neck, your ribs all sort of functioning together. The movement's going to come more from our lumbar region, or from our sort of the turning of our abdomen. So you'll bring your hands onto your cheeks, and your elbows will sort of connect with your ribs, so that as I turn my ribs from side to side, my head and neck sort of stack on top of that movement and likewise turn. So we're going to be turning our thorax and our pelvis in sort of opposition to each other. In this case, our pelvis will stay fixed. Right? So press down through your sitting bones, lift up through the crown of your head. Look straight forward at whatever you can see in front of you. If you are outside and you can look a far distance away, I definitely recommend that. And all these drills are useful to play with in different environments for that reason. Okay. So I'm going to turn my belly to the right, and as my belly turns, my head will follow and my eyes will scan, okay, along with the movement of my skull. And then I'll come back to the center. Again, and you can orient this more on an exhalation. Turn your belly to the right and back to center. Notice if you feel tempted to sort of turn your eyes to the right. It's not bad to do that, but see if you can keep your gaze straight forward. You're sort of scanning this quarter turn or quarter circle from the movement in your abdomen. One more time. Maybe you can turn and see a little further and back to center. Okay. Now let's go to the left. Turn my belly to the left. Back, and again to the left, back. Each time I turn, I'm curious if I can see a little more to the left without moving my eyes. Let's do one more. And back to the center, lower your arms. Okay, now we're going to explore the movement in our pelvis. And to do this, we'll actually start with a somewhat tilted pelvis to one side. So you can let your knees sort of fall to the right and shift yourself on the chair, okay, so that your right sitting bone is a little heavier and your left sitting bone a little lighter and more forward. You can let your hands just rest on your knees. I'm not going to so much pull with my hands, but you might notice a little sliding. Okay. For this, as the movement moves from the pelvis, your thorax and your head might turn a little bit, but for now, let's keep your chest kind of oriented a little bit to the left, so kind of straight forward, even though your pelvis is tilted. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, pull your right sitting bone back and push your left sitting bone forward, and then unwind. You might also think of that as pulling your right knee back, left knee forward. Essentially, you're taking the basin of your pelvis and just rotating it a little bit. And perhaps you can rotate it a lot bit. Turn all the way to the end of your capacity. Okay. And then come back to the center. Pause for a moment in between sides. For a lot of us, we might sort of have the imprint of these movements prioritized or preferenced in our body, depending on how we sit or maybe even how we sleep, move. Okay, shift to the left. So you might notice one side feels a little bit different than the other. So more weight in your left sitting bone. Gonna scissor your legs, so right knee goes forward, left knee pulls back, and then come back to center. Now my chest might move a little bit, but really working on just the pelvis shifting, so my chest and head stay oriented more towards the camera. We're sort of isolating first, and then we'll integrate. Come back to center. So finally, let's try organizing our movements from our head, and then we'll try organizing from the pelvis and see what happens. All right, so find yourself in an upright position. We'll start with your eyes. Turn your eyes to the right. Turn your head to the right. Okay, turn your ribs to the right. Turn your belly to the right. And then you can even at the end press your left knee forward, pull your right hip back so your pelvis shifts a little. Now we'll unwind from the pelvis. Draw your left hip back, turn your belly forward, ribs forward, head forward, eyes come last. Again, eyes, head, ribs, arms, belly, pelvis, and then unwind pelvis, belly, ribs, head, eyes. One more time, head, so rather eyes, head, neck, shoulders, ribs, pelvis, pelvis, belly, ribs, head, eyes. Okay, pause for a second. Feel. And do the other side. So turn your eyes to the left, then head left, then ribs left, belly, pelvis, unwind pelvis, belly, ribs, head, eyes. Twice more. Eyes, head, ribs, belly, pelvis, unwind pelvis, belly, ribs, head, eyes. Last one. Eyes, head, ribs, belly, pelvis, pelvis, belly, ribs, head, and eyes. Okay, calibrate in the center. Deep breath in. And full breath out. And now, let's go back to that very first thing we did, just looking with our head and our eyes from side to side, and notice if you feel an increase of freedom, an increased range of motion, maybe a decrease. Sometimes with these drills, different things can get unlocked that might seemingly limit our experience before it expands it. All right, and we'll leave it at that for now. So these drills always, are available to you anytime throughout the day that you need just a little movement break. And as I said before, it's not just the things that we're doing with our body chronically that can start to create patterns of stuckness, but also the things we're doing with our mind, with our eyes, right, with our environment. And we have lots of different options, no matter where you are, to explore some novel choices within your current circumstances. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me, and I'll see you around. Peace.